Hello everyone, good morning. My name is Shawn Riendeau Jr. I am from Rhode Island in the United States and currently living here in Hong Kong. I started working here as an English teacher at a language institute in February of 2024. So I am actually coming up on the completing my first year contract next week on the 27th. So I'm at the very end of my time here at Hong Kong, but ready to show you what it's like here. And please ask any questions at any time, and I'm very happy to answer. Thank you. So this is where I work at Monkey Tree English Learning Center in Tai Wai. There are a lot of monkey trees here in Hong Kong, but I work in the Tai Wai Center, which is in the New Territories. Unfortunately, I cannot film inside the building, so I can't show you my classes or the kids for their own privacy. But in my lunch break in a couple of hours, I will tell you more about what it's like working here. And then tonight, when I go home, I'll give you the apartment tour and share some of my experiences as well. Hello everyone, it is now 11:46 and I am on my break. So I usually during this time eat and take a nice walk in this beautiful park that you see here. I'll be walking around and talking to you and giving you a little bit more information on my experience here in Hong Kong and what brought me here to begin with. So again, my name is Shawn Riendeau Jr. and I am from Woonsocket, Rhode Island, the smallest state in the United States. And I am here for a couple different reasons, but if we're gonna go back to sort of the beginning of all of this, I am currently 32 years old, but in my late 20s, I was working at Johnson & Wales University in Providence, Rhode Island full-time. I was owning two businesses. I was keeping up with family and friends and hobbies and fitness, getting a master's. My master's is in global tourism and sustainable economic development, and getting my TEFL certificate because it was a goal of mine to teach English abroad for a year. While all these things I was doing were healthy activities, I started feeling like my life wasn't my own anymore, and that it was becoming dictated by everything else around me, my work, my family, my friends, my education. So I made a promise to myself that when I turned 30 and my master's was completed and my TEFL certificate was also completed, that I would reclaim my life back, and that's exactly what I did. I set off on the grand adventure that somehow led me here to Hong Kong. I ended up leaving my career at Johnson & Wales University as an international student advisor. I got rid of as much as I could, bought a 65-liter Osprey backpack, and a ticket to Costa Rica. Originally, the intention was to go out there for 3 months, come back and get a ESL teaching job with the certificate I had just got. But I ended up spending 8 months out there backpacking through Nicaragua, Costa Rica, El Salvador, and Guatemala. And after 8 months, I knew it was time to make some money, but I didn't want the adventure to continue. So I went directly out there from Guatemala to New Mexico to work as a whitewater rafting guide. Directly moved out to New Mexico, never had whitewater rafted in my life, but it sounded awesome, so I was really into it. I moved out there, ended up doing a road trip with my brother who met me out there, and we traveled around for over a week all around the Southwest, where he dropped me off at New Mexico River Adventures, and I began my guide school to become a whitewater rafting guide. I lived out in New Mexico in a tent on the company's property for another 4.5, almost 5 months, and eventually I arrived home on the exact year date that I left my home. So I was home for about 4 months looking for a job to teach English abroad, and I had gotten a few offers, and originally my plan was from the very start was I would love to go to South Korea. But when I got the job offer here at Monkey Tree in Hong Kong, I didn't necessarily want to come out here, but I felt in my gut and in my spirit that I had to come here no matter what. It ended up being quite a hard decision because not a lot of people really supported it, but I had to follow my own intuition, and I'm so glad I did, because now a year later, after being here, it has completely changed my life, and I'm so happy and so glad that I did follow my own heart. I will make sure to put more details about working here on the story a bit later. I am heading back into work in a few minutes, and it is my long day, so it will take some time for me to answer more questions. But essentially, I applied for the job and had an interview on Halloween, October 31st. And after going through the interview, getting all the paperwork ready, waiting for the next cohort to begin, I arrived on Valentine's Day, February 14th. So it took from the end of October to mid-February to apply and get here on the ground. Overall, it was a fairly easy process to get here, though. The cohort I was starting with was a couple months forward, so I did have to wait for that to begin. And then also the resident and working visa did take a bit of time as well. But overall, it really wasn't that stressful of a process, and Monkey Tree helped a lot. They made it quite easy for it to go as smoothly as possible. Regarding housing, there is 2 options. You can choose to come here and find your own accommodations, or you can choose to live with the Monkey Tree accommodations, the company housing. I did choose to go with the company housing because I had never been to Hong Kong and wasn't really familiar with how to get an apartment here, or really where to even begin. So it was definitely the most convenient to go with their accommodations. I did stay in their accommodations for a majority of my experience, but about a month and a half, 2 months ago, I did move into my own apartment, so I am no longer with the accommodations anymore. Please keep in mind, if you do decide to come to Hong Kong, that not all schools and companies will provide housing. This is my experience with my company, but if you go for a public school or another organization, they may not provide that. One of the reasons I chose to work at the language center that I work at is because of the fact that they provided housing, and it's not free. You do have to still pay rent. So just be mindful, if you do decide to come here, that you may have to find your own apartment or house. Hello, I am officially out of work now. It is 7:30 at night, so I can now answer some questions and I can tell you a little bit more about what my job is like here as an English teacher. So I, again, work at Monkey Tree English Learning Center. So this is not a public school. This is a language center where kids come either before or after school to practice phonics, beginner, intermediate, advanced. They practice grammar and writing, reading and speaking, and also exam preparations for Trinity and Cambridge, as well as we have younger kids who learn basic vocabulary. We call this chat room. As mentioned in one of my previous slides, I have two types of days. I have my full day and my half day. So during my full days, which are 3 times a week, I will come in at 9:15 a.m. to have my first class at 9:30. I'll teach 2 classes at 1 hour each until 11:30, and then take my lunch from 11:30 to 1 o'clock. At 1 o'clock, I'll come back to the center, and I'll have 1 hour of admin time. And then I'll have about 4 hours of classes, so 4 classes. Then again at 6:30 until 7:30, I'll have 1 more hour of admin time. For my half days, I come in at 2, teach 4 classes, and then have 1 hour of admin time. Arriving here, there was a week-long orientation where they taught you what and how they want you to teach the children. Here at my center, I have children from aged 4 to 12, so you do have quite the variety of different age groups to work with. Something I wasn't expecting was getting to know my childlike self again through the children. So that's actually been one of the most rewarding parts of this experience, is rediscovering that side of myself that I had lost along the journey called life. Here at Monkey Tree, all your lessons are planned out for you. So for me as a new teacher, this has been extremely helpful because it's given me a solid example of how lessons should look and how they should be taught. Every few months, somebody from the headquarters office comes in, they sit in your class, and when it's completed, they sit down with you and let you know what you could work on and what you did really well. So this has also been helpful because it's helped you grow as a teacher and as a professional. But on the flip side of things, if you're somebody who wants a lot of creative freedom with your classes, this might restrict you a little. But overall, this was great for a first-time teacher and to really see how classes should be conducted. Good evening. I am out here in Kennedy Town where I live, having a nice evening walk and doing the last bits of my Instagram takeover. Living in Hong Kong has been absolutely amazing. I have loved every bit of it here. My company did ask if I wanted to renew my contract, and I politely declined because I came out here with a specific goal, and that was to gain some teaching experience, open my doors to Asia, save some money and travel with the funds that I had saved here. And surprisingly, I saved more than I expected. So I am going to be taking off to Southeast Asia, backpacking and doing some volunteer work next. Once I get home, I will show you the tour of my apartment and also break down my spending habits and my funds. But I do want to make this clear that Hong Kong isn't exactly the least expensive place to live, but there are a lot of options to live within your means. So for me, I have been saving, and only spending my money on wants, not so much needs. Most of the wants I did spend money on were traveling, and during this time I was able to go to Taiwan, Thailand, Macau, the Philippines, and mainland China as well. I would 100% encourage anyone who's thinking of following their own personal legend and getting out into the world and teaching English. Please do. Absolutely do your course with ITA. I did the online course 11 weeks, and it was manageable, and I feel like it completely prepared me for what I'm doing now. So I'm extremely thankful for that, and for all the people who have also done these ITA takeovers, because that was a huge inspiration for me. So if you're thinking of taking the risk, please take healthy risks. Get out there in the world, follow your dreams, and if that is teaching English abroad, go for it. Whether it's in Hong Kong, Thailand, or anywhere else in the world, try it out. You never know until you find out, right? And finally, we have the apartment tour. Like I mentioned in my previous stories, I used to live in company housing, but now I live with my partner here at this house. So the house is already fully furnished and ready to move in. It's pretty small, but has all the basic things you need to survive. We do have a washer and no dryer because mostly clothes is hung here in Hong Kong. It's usually warm enough to hang. Basic shower. And then 2 bedrooms right here, but I won't go in because it is pretty late here.